Hi, yeah, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be turning my project side characters into muffins. This slightly crazy idea was suggested to me by the absolutely lovely Caitlin Wrights, who also has a YouTube channel, so if you want to subscribe to her, she will be linked below. I've decided I'm going to be doing 4 muffins for each of the 4 point of view characters in the story. 2 of them are tried and true methods, which I can guarantee will be absolutely delicious. The other 2, not only have I never done them before, but I'm also slightly improvising on the recipes here, so while the idea for them makes sense, there is a pretty good chance that they will turn into a complete disaster. Either way, I hope you enjoy it. To start off, I am going to be making a base to then split off into the 4 separate flavors. I am going to be basing this on my go-to muffins recipe, which is this lemon and poppy seed one that I always use, and obviously removing the lemon and poppy seeds because we want to add our own flavor. We're going to start with 2 cups of flour, 3 1/4 cups of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. In a separate bowl, we want to add 1 cup of milk, 115 grams of molten butter, and 1 large egg. Whisk everything together, then combine the 2 bowls into 1 batter, being careful not to overmix. Now that we have a base, we can start adding some character-inspired flavor to these. My first muffin is going to be Lissa. Lissa is a survivor. She will do whatever it takes to stop her family from starving, even if she might feel guilty about it afterwards. I see her as a sweet and slightly naive girl that was brought up in a world where kindness is a weakness, and she's had to learn this the hard way. She's somewhere on the thin line between being a cinnamon bun and looking like a cinnamon bun, but could actually kill you. She is stronger than she looks, and she can put up a fight if she has to, but whether she has the mental strength to actually kill another conscious being, well, she would rather not be put into a situation where she has to find out. For Lissa, I've decided to make cinnamon roll inspired muffins. For these, I didn't modify the base, but instead focused on recreating the filling. We're going to mix 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 14 grams of caster sugar, and 10 grams of butter. Mix, and we're done. Now we can start filling the designated Lissa cupcake holders. To mimic the swirliness of a cinnamon roll, I tried layering this with a couple of spoonfuls of plain muffin dough, and then a thin layer of cinnamony goodness. Then repeat the process until we have a nice full layered muffin. Now we're gonna be adding icing to these later on, but for now, let me tell you about my next character. My next character is Red, and he's your typical strong, broody, save the world kind of character. Despite this, he is not particularly creative. He doesn't believe in reinventing the wheel, and if there's a standard procedure that he can follow in a certain situation or scenario, he will stick to it. He does have the ability to improvise to an extent, but would rather avoid it whenever possible and stick to what he knows. This is why for Red, I've decided that we're gonna be sticking to the recipe. We're making lemon and poppy seed muffins and simply modifying the quantities a little bit so we're making 4 muffins and not 12. Because muffins are muffins, right? Why would you ever feel the need to personalize food when food's only function is to keep you alive? I also find the lemon flavor pretty appropriate because Life sure has been throwing a lot of lemons at Fred over the last couple of years, and he has more than enough to make muffins with, and even a couple of liters of lemonade to wash them down with afterwards. So let's put those lemons to good use, shall we? For these, I'm going to be adding half a tablespoon of lemon zest, half a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice, and half a tablespoon of poppy seeds. Simple, effective, stick to the recipe. Next. So I think that I've come across a small problem. The cup holders I normally use, which are not colored, are a little bit smaller than the ones I'm using now, which means that I'm actually running low on the base butter already, which I only realized when I was pouring Shred's muffins, and then I had to improvise and rearrange some and ended up only making 2 of them instead of 3. I feel like this is a very appropriate trait to Shred's personality though, because he tends to overestimate himself and then underperforming. So Shred only has 2 muffins as a result, and based on how much butter I have left, I have a feeling the other 2 characters are also gonna only have 2 muffins each, but it's fine. Next up we have Denley, who's one of the 2 characters I've never talked about on this channel before. He used to be a fighter, but is small enough that he no longer needs to fight his own battles. He has a very well-developed ability to break a problem down and look at it from every angle, noticing things that most people would miss. He's also impatient and straight to the point, sometimes jumping ahead by 4 or 5 moves and counter moves without giving his co-captains a chance to figure out how he got to that conclusion. From the outside, it may look like he's choosing strategies by shooting darts in the dark, or even just going against what everyone else does just for the fun of it. His speed and cleverness can easily be misconstrued as him being a bit alternative, especially in those cases in which his well-thought-out strategies fail. In fact, I think a lot of the people he works with would probably describe him as being a bit nuts. We're going to start by chopping up a handful of almonds and a handful of walnuts. Take a few aside for decorating later and mix the remaining nuts into a 1/4 of a base. Add half a teaspoon of ginger and half a teaspoon of nutmeg, because this man's opinions are spicy. Mix it all up and pour it into Denley's little muffin cups, adding some of the remaining nuts at the top for an extra nutty touch. My final character, or at least my final POV character, is Ryan. I was a bit stuck on what muffins to make for Ryan, so I asked for my boyfriend's opinion and he requested chocolate chips. When I asked why he thinks Ryan would enjoy chocolate chips, he said to just add a line in the dialogue in the book somewhere saying that Ryan's favorite muffins are chocolate chips, and then make chocolate chips muffins for him. Now that's not quite going to cut it for me, but what I did do was start with chocolate chips and work backwards to find the personality trait that would be suitable. Chocolate chip muffins are always a safe bet. Most people like chocolate, and the ones that don't generally enjoy the attention from explaining why they don't like chocolate, so they wouldn't complain about your choice of muffin either. At the same time, they are incredibly easy to make, and people will believe you when you say this. You can shrug any compliments off by just saying you literally just dumped a package of chocolate chips into some generic dough and mixed it together. It took 5 minutes. You weren't really trying to get anyone to like you, or were you? Ryan is complicated. He is the closest I have to a morally grey character, but even if he thinks of himself that way, he's still desperate to be liked. Of course, he would rather kill you than admit that he would enjoy your friendship. He could easily turn something as innocent as a friendly muffin potluck event into an intrinsically calculated scenario with only one optimal solution that will give him just the right amount of popularity while remaining in control of his doesn't care about anyone's reputation. His solution? Probably chocolate chip muffins. There really isn't a lot to these. Take the last quarter of the batter, eyeball a decent amount of chocolate chips for 3 tiny muffins I'm making per person, mix and pour, and we're ready for the oven. Did I mention Brian enjoys making everyone else wait for him? Makes him feel important. Now, while those are in the oven, let's go back to Lissa. Lissa's the only character that bothered with going the extra mile and add icing. Whether that's because she has a bit of a sweet tooth or because she tries to do the best in everything she does, that's up for you to decide. Mix about 200 grams of icing sugar, a teaspoon of cream cheese, half a teaspoon of butter, and a splash of vanilla essence, and apply this generously on the sweet cinnamony muffins. Not gonna lie, these are the ones I'm looking forward to trying out the most. They're also the most likely to turn into a bit of a disaster though, but I feel like this is a risk Lissa would be willing to take. Worst case, she's just gonna have to eat them all by herself and try again with a new batch. Look at them, there's so many of them. I mean, there's actually really not that many of them. I was expecting slightly more, but alas, problems happened. I'm finding it really funny that I have 3 really big Lissa ones, 2 pretty big thread ones, and then these normal sized Ryan ones, and really tiny little Denley ones that you can barely see. I just think that's really funny. I am going to be eating these now and telling you how I feel about them. Not all of them, obviously, because, yeah, I don't think I can handle this many. But they smell really good. I'm really excited to try them. Also, this was definitely not on purpose, but the order in which they are from bigger to smaller is actually representative of how many chapters each of the people get. So, like, Lissa has the most chapters, then Thread has the second most chapters, Ryan the third most, and then just has a couple of chapters. Wasn't on purpose, but it works. I'm going to start by trying Denley's nutty spicy muffins. I wanted to get a cross section for you guys, but they fell apart a little bit when I opened them. The first few things that I'm noticing is that these might be a little bit overcooked, which is primarily because of how small they were compared to the really big Lissa ones. They're also quite crumbly, like they fall apart a bit too much. I feel like I could have done with less nuts per muffin. They also smell really good, like as soon as I cut it, I got this like ginger nutmeg smell, and it's just like so good. I can't wait to try it. I hope they're not too spicy. They might be a little bit. They're not too spicy actually. I think they're pretty good. They smell spicier than they actually taste. Very like sort of salty, nutty sort of taste. Wouldn't really have them as a sweet dessert sort of thing, but they're like, you know, like a mid-morning hearty sort of snack to get you working on something fairly healthy, I think, because of the nuts. There isn't too much sugar in them or anything. Yeah, I think I would make these again. They're not bad. Next up, I'm gonna be trying the chocolate ones. I really like the cross-section on these. You can tell all the like melty chocolate inside. It looks so good. I can already tell you it's gonna taste delicious. I don't even need to try this one. I mean, I make this a lot. But yes, let's give it a little bit of a try. They're perfect. The outside's like really nice and crunchy, but then they're really soft on the inside. Really, really good. I really like these ones. Next up, we have the lemon and poppy seed ones. I think these look so pretty with all of the little poppy seeds and the lemon flavor, and they smell really, really good as well. These are also some that I've made before and I know that they're good, but I also feel like I used more lemon on them than I normally would, just because there was much less quantity of them, so I overdid a bit with the lemon juice, so I hope that they're not too lemony. I think they're really good actually. I think my last attempt at these didn't turn out that well because I had too many poppy seeds in them where it felt like they were still scratching my throat when I ate them. So I used less poppy seeds this time, and I overdid it with the lemon a bit by accident, but they actually taste really, really lemony, and it's really nice. I really like lemony things. They're also really juicy because of the lemon compared to the nut ones, which were a little bit dry. These are really, really good. So I left the cinnamon ones for last because they're the ones that I'm most excited about. These were probably the riskiest ones to make. I was very much improvising between a couple of different recipes. I didn't really know how they were gonna turn out. Just based off the cross section, I'm a little bit disappointed that the layering isn't really coming through. You can sort of see like some traces of where the cinnamon was, but mostly it just looks like it's been mixed in. Which makes sense because the cinnamon mixture was made with molten butter, and there's molten butter in the muffins as well, so they probably just mixed in a bit. So they don't look like cinnamon rolls. They do smell cinnamony. And I think the cinnamon roll icing kinda works. But let's see what they taste like. Can still see a little bit of cinnamon on that side. I'm not sure about these ones actually. They taste really good, but they don't taste cinnamony. I think the icing tastes really, really nice, but it's sort of overpowering. You can't really taste the cinnamon as much. It just tastes like vanilla icing. Yeah, even the part at the bottom where you have the little like cinnamon layer swirl, can't even really taste the cinnamon. I feel like if I was making these again, I would add the cinnamon to the actual muffin dough and mix it in rather than trying to layer it and then maybe have less icing on them. Overall though, delicious. At this point I feel like I'm slightly torturing my boyfriend who really wants to eat these muffins as well. So I am going to stop making this video now and eat the rest of these off camera. I hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to let me know what you think your characters would look like as muffins, and have a wonderful week. See you next time. Bye bye.